Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. Mental curator Johnny Hemberger here. And a couple quick things before I get to my thoughts and opinions on Avengers Endgame. Because yes, between these two segments, recording these two segments, went to see the Avengers Endgame. So first, a couple quick fascinating things before we dive into Endgame. Windows Solitaire has officially been inducted into the World Video Game Hall of Fame. Solitaire on Windows, which debuted with Windows 3.1 way back in the day. And you might ask, well, some of you might say, yeah, I can see how Windows Solitaire would get inducted to the Video Game Hall of Fame. Others might not kind of understand that. I thought it was very fascinating that it was inducted to the Video Game Hall of Fame for not because it was a video game, but more importantly, what Solitaire was actually doing for computer users. You got to remember back when Windows 3.0 came out, when Solitaire was included with Windows 3.0, that was still technically speaking, that was the early days of the mouse interface, of the GUI in Windows-based interface, but mostly it was due to that mouse interaction. Not prior to Windows 3.1, but a few years prior even, most of your computer interaction was done with a keyboard. A lot of computers didn't even have a mouse. So most of our interaction with the keyboard. So what Solitaire did was train people to use the mouse with the clicking and the dragging and the double clicking. They were playing Solitaire, yes, but actually underneath it all, they were getting proficient at the mouse interface. I just thought that was fascinating. 2, before we get on to Avengers, I want to bring up Sonic the Hedgehog movie. If you subscribe to the Geek Therapy Radio podcast, my midweek geek, I, like everyone else, dove into tearing the design choices apart for the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. It has been announced, again, in between recording last segment and recording this segment, that the director of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie announced on Twitter that they are making changes, that they heard the internet's outcry, that they heard public criticism and outcry, and they are, in fact, going to alter the movie before it comes out. And the movie comes out very soon. In the timeline of movies and reworking things, it comes out very soon. So, with the promise that they are going to redesign Sonic before the movie comes out shortly, it gets my conspiracy hat going a little bit here. In brief, I believe that the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer was the only part of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie that had the effed up Sonic, that had the nightmare fuel, horrifically designed Sonic the Hedgehog in it as a publicity stunt. I have a feeling that the creators of the movie were not stupid, and they are aware that the internet is, even prior to that, is just awash with Sonic the Hedgehog memes. Sonic the Hedgehog memes are one of the funniest things on the internet, period. So I think that the creators of the movie made the trailer in the vein of the Sonic the Hedgehog memes. That's why they designed Sonic to look so terrible, to drum up the publicity. And I guarantee you, well, not guarantee you, but I highly suspect that the actual feature-length film has a correct looking version of Sonic all along, that they're not actually going to have to physically alter or correct Sonic's appearance. That Sonic's appearance in the feature-length film is always been normal. It's just that the trailer, they jacked up the trailer on purpose, basically, to make Sonic look the way Sonic looked. That's just my opinion. I would not be surprised. Again, remember, you got to think about this. The movie comes out not very long from now. So to retool the entire movie, every scene, frame for frame, shot for shot, whatever they do, even if it's not that intense, to reanimate Sonic, retool his design would take an exorbitant amount of manpower and man hours. So my feeling is that it was always correct the whole time. It's just the trailer that looked jank. All right. Avengers Endgame. This is no spoilers. That should kind of go without saying, no spoilers. And the reason why I saw it yesterday is because I knew that apparently the official or unofficial embargo on spoilers is lifting the following Monday to me recording this show. So I needed to see it before the spoilers. I got to be careful with what I say here, because if you listen to a previous episode of Geek Therapy Radio, I made no qualms about what I thought would happen in Endgames. And I will not say yes or no as to whether they were accurate, but I will just say that if you want to get my thoughts on what I thought Endgame would be, you could listen to that prior episode. So I'm just going to kind of give my overall thoughts and opinions on the movie with no spoilers. I am of the opinion, and I kind of feel, and maybe I'm the odd one out here, that the movie was intensely, at least with my group of friends and my circle of friends and people that I know on social media and everything like that, they were making this out to be Jesus' second coming. They overhyped this thing to biblical proportions. So I went in there expecting, this is just me personally, again, just my opinion. You're listening to this, you have your own opinion on this, of course. It was just my opinion that it did not live up to the hype that I was led to believe it to be, if that makes any sense. It was overhyped. Anything can be overhyped, I believe. Saying that, Avengers Endgame, if I had not heard much hype about it, I would have thought it was amazing. I do think it was a really, really, really good movie. I thoroughly enjoyed Avengers Endgame. Thoroughly enjoyed it. The visuals were great. The sound design was spectacular. There was lots of cool moments in it. Yes, there were a few moments in it that made my eyes well up, I didn't cry at any part, really. My wife did. But that goes without saying. Any movie's going to have kind of a sad parts. I'm just saying, yes, I emotionally connected to some parts. But again, I was just thinking, this is so... I wish it wasn't so overly hyped before going into it. And no, the sales numbers weren't the only thing that overly hyped it. I fully expected this to be a box office smash hit. I am not surprised in the slightest that day one it was breaking records, box office records. Not at all. That did not play into my feelings going into the movie, because there can be box office smashes that do really well in the box office that I just think are terrible, that I don't like. So going into Avengers Endgame, I was a little, I don't want to say I wasn't let down by the movie. I was let down by the hype. Does that make sense? If I had not heard any hype about the movie, if my friends hadn't made this out to be Jesus' second coming, I would have gone in there and just been blown away by Avengers Endgame. Blown away. It did have some of the coolest, I would say, fight scenes. And that's not a spoiler, because every Marvel movie has fight scenes. It had some of the coolest fight scenes, coolest visuals, coolest sound effects. It was an exquisite movie-going popcorn experience. It was 3 hours long. I fully expected the 3 hours long. That was not a mystery to me. We made sure to go pee beforehand and take care of our business otherwise, knowing that it was going to be a long movie. I don't know how specific I can be about this without giving spoilers. It never seems slow. I'll say that. There was one part of the movie, I will say this is not really a spoiler, but where some text goes across the screen. I mean, there's subtitles and all sorts of things in the movie. That's not spoilers, but there's a part where 3 words go across the screen. They're not critical words, really, to spoil on the spoiler aspect, but 3 words go across the screen so slowly. It's like, well, that chewed significantly into the 3 hours. I'm being very facetious about this, but it just stuck out to me that these 3 words popping up on the screen, blah, 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 was like, that was unnecessarily slow. So the movie overall didn't feel slow to me. It moved along at a good pace, and I liked it. So critic score, I would give it, I guess I would, critic score B+, stick up the butt, critic score B+ to A-, I think. Geek score A+. It was a really good movie, and I highly recommend you see it. That's going to do it for Geek Therapy Radio this week. Thanks for sticking around. Get the podcast, Geek Therapy Radio, on your favorite podcast player. Of course, we prefer the iHeartRadio app. And until next time, I'll see you then.